What is something that was used heavily in the year 2000, but it's almost never used today? Geocities, Neopets, LiveJournal, Kazaa. Neopets don't die though. I logged in after a long ass time and my Neopet was starving. So I fed it a piece of the omelette and he said yuck, I don't like omelettes. So I logged off and let the sassy little bat starve for another 10 years. They could be such picky little bastards. I remember trying to make one of my pets into a bookworm only for them to scoff at half the books I bought. Apparently, one trick to this, and it might work for food too, is to change the browser's language settings. So, I changed my Chrome to French and it worked. Only problem is, when I changed the settings back to English, the site wouldn't change with it. So Neopets is stuck in French for me. Someone who can barely remember what meager vocabulary they learned in 9th grade. All because of a picky ass Neopet. Spinning under construction GIFs on websites. Remember when most websites had a hit counter on them, and the email address of the webmaster, and a guest book? If you had a big screen TV, it was probably a ridiculously thick rear projection TV. My parents can't get it out of the house. My dad busted it apart to get it out of the house. Rewritable CDs. I used to burn so many mixed CDs after downloading from Napster, Besha, LimeWire, FrostWire. Then my mother would call, disconnecting the internet, and I would have to start the download all over again. Except one file wasn't an MP3, but a virus. I would just reinstall Windows before my mom got home, as we saved every picture and document on a zip drive. Then those fancy jazz drives. Also Adobe without a subscription. Oh my god. I could never, for the life of me, ever record onto a CDRW. Never could work, no matter which options I tried. Ended up just burning CDRs and trashing them when I was done. And if I remember correctly, CDRs were much cheaper. You could get a stack of like 50 or 100 of them for what you could get like 10 CDRWs. Computer mice with a ball. My friend had one of the first Microsoft IntelliMouseLink, which did not use a ball. As I recall, it was the first laser mouse without a ball that was commercialized in a popular way. It was released in October 1999. So in 2000, most mice were with a ball and slowly faded away. Remember having to clean the ball. Who even knows how that much gunk got in there in a relatively short time. It was fun for a minute to play with the rollers that the ball actuated, moving the cursor with your fingers instead of with the mouse. In one of my early college art classes, a fellow student turned in a very mediocre digital illustration for a project. During the group critique, he insisted he should be allowed extra points because he'd lost the ball in his mouse and had done the entire illustration by twiddling his finger in the ball hole. ICQ. Couple of years ago, I had a number come into my head. Recognized it but didn't know where from. For over a year it kept bugging me. Was it my college enrollment password number for someone I worked with when I worked overseas? Not a clue for the longest time. Random convo with a friend about old memes and things we miss about the early internet days. And I just blurted out it's my ducking ICQ number, with no context. Edit forgot to put mine. 132,133,677. PDAs. Personal digital assistants. I still have my Palm Pilot. It was amazing at the time. Whenever I write something down on my hand, I always say out loud, I'll put that in my Palm Pilot. I get a sad chuckle every time. Payphones. Edit. Yes, I know payphones still exist. Also, I'm now very aware payphones are free in Australia. Thank you for informing me. Blue eyeshadow. You could always tell when a junior high school aged girl finally got the okay from her parents to start wearing makeup. She'd show up at school every day for the next month looking like a blue panda. Butterfly hair clips, and I believe the white eyeliner were huge then too. Phone books. Indoor smoking. My young Irish kids marvel at the fact that people used to sit in restaurants and smoke. Dial up. Wee woo 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 woo. Bajaluda legaludally peep peep. RRR. 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 Arkaments I can hear. Blockbuster card. I live a half hour away from one. Granted, it's the last one. But still. It's surreal walking around that store. Close street thing to time traveling I'll ever get to do. Zip disks. Remember jazz disks? I was so blown away by a 1GB disc. This week I got a micro SD card for my Switch. 64 gigs. In a micro card. For less than 20 bucks. I really marvel at the advancements in our storage technology just within my lifetime. I still remember back in the day, my father looking at a computer game box and yelling, 10 megabytes. Who the duck needs 10 megabytes for a video game? VCRs. Tape rewinders. Be kind. Rewind. I like the ones that had the form of a sports car. I worked at a Blockbuster. We had rows and rows of rewinders. People were not kind. I remember an eventual switch to don't rewind because the VCRs people had at home were rougher on the tapes than a standalone tape rewinder. Maps or MapQuest. My wife calls Google Maps MapQuest. If we need directions she'll tell me to MapQuest it on my phone. My wife still used MapQuest until maybe 2 years ago when I asked her if she was looking for directions back to 1998. Why does everyone in this town use Alta Vista? AOL. Not to my parents. They both still use this shit for their internet, email and browser. There's always a few stragglers. AOL still makes millions from paid email subscription. Ask Jeeves Lickus Yahoo. I remember my grandma was convinced that you had to word your searches in the form of a question for Ask Jeeves to work properly. TBF, this is the way I was taught to use Ask Jeeves in elementary school. Floppy disks. Download managers. Start the download right after mom goes to bed. Wake up before her to pause the download and disconnect the dial-up connection. Resume tomorrow night. Repeat. A week later, you're playing Counter-Strike. And now you can download the torrent in like 2 minutes. The perspective is staggering. A 1080p 30 fps video using old 2000 codecs like MPEG-1 at high quality is like 40 mLebs instead of modern .264. 265 being like 8. A YouTube video of that quality takes like 2 minutes today at that quality. In 2000 on dial-up using contemporary codecs would have required 165 hours. The perspective is staggering. A 1080p 30 fps video using old 2000 codecs like MPEG-1 at high quality is like 40 mLebs instead of modern .264. 265 being like 8. I remember when Fraps recorded uncompressed video. 1600 multiply 1200 multiply 3 bytes per frame is nearly 2 MB per frame, 60 MB per second, 4 GB per hour. And at that time 4 GB were a lot. I seem to have completely garbled the math. It was a lot though. I would use Fraps to record old vanilla World of Warcraft footage, and while waiting for party members I would alt-tab and use a different program to compress the behemoth Fraps files down into something much more reasonable. The term World Wide Web. Visit us at p://with.pbs.org. I can still hear them thank viewers like me. Landlines. Also 1-800-COLLECT and 1-800-CALLET. Dial down the middle. Bob we had a bye, it's a boy. I needed to use payphones before this commercial and this was something we'd all do. Please state your name after the tone. Mom pick me up at school. You have a collect call from Mom pick me up at school. The best part was when she'd say no to the charges. And I secretly wondered if anyone was going to actually pick me up, or if they thought that the bus would take me. Jazz band practice ended after the late bus departed. Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass. Calculators. Teachers kept saying you won't have one with you all the time. Look who's stupid now. Bitch. Both of us. LimeWire. Using LimeWire to get LimeWire Pro. And feeling like the smartest person ever for figuring that out. Azel. Too old not in a while. Over the hill. Over the hill works for both A and L. Dial-up. Roughly 10 million Americans still use dial-up. Any sort of dedicated music playing device. Before that just became a part of your phone. RIP Creative Zen Touch. You were a wonderful green brick. Edit. It was the Vision M that was green. The Touch was a white brick. Loved them both. The phase with Zup was up. Colored spiky hair gel. Edit laughing my butt off. Great, I've got this guy link to thank for my highest rated comment ever. Bro, I'm still waiting for the day Frosted Tips make a comeback. Honestly man, the kids these days look straight out to the 90s. Though most of them seem to think it's original. Wouldn't surprise me if Frosted Tips are next. LOL. I was at my buddy's last week and his 13-year-old walks out with a 90s haircut, necklace, and shirt. Oh no, not those little wooden beaded necklaces. Napster. Walkman CD player with the famous anti-skip. Tamagotchis. Answering machines. JNCO jeans. My 13-year-old son stole the 4 pairs I had left from my storage last month to restore. He's fixing the hems, dye baths, fixing the patches, etc. So I would guess that 1996, 97, 2005 look is on its way back. This can basically just be what has our phones replaced: calculators, CDS, radios, alarm clocks, MP3 players, GPS units, PCS to an extent, banks, checks, landlines and payphones. Need I go on? I still have an alarm clock. Too easy to snooze my phone. Entire OS is coming on floppy disks. Pages. Edit. Wow. That response caught me off guard. I had no clue. People still think my insulin pump is a pager sometimes. AIM and MSN Messenger. Edit. Sweet Jesus, this blew up. Thank you all for bringing back even more memories of the late 90s early 2000s, rushing home to fire up the dial-up and start chatting with the same friends I'd already spent hours talking to that day. To whichever one of you guys sent the silver, you have officially made my day with, if I'm not mistaken, my first ever award. Thank you man. Edit. Again, wholesome and gold awards too. Much appreciated. I can't believe what I expected to be a throwaway comment that would quickly disappear achieved all this. WinZip. That's built directly into the OS now. No need to buy or pirate it. And we have the vastly superior 7-zip now. Sending greeting cards online. E-greeting cards. Ringtones and custom voicemail. Is Axe still a thing? I used to spray it all over my space. House phone. PlayStation 2. It was the hottest thing in 2000. Ah yes. The year my parents told everyone I was into games because I'd asked for a PS2. And I got 3 copies of Monopoly for Christmas. Worst Christmas ever. I'm having to scroll really far without seeing this, but TiVo. If you had one of those, it was like cable television, satellite TV, and your VCR recorder had an AI baby. There was so much power in consumers' hands for the first time in the television business. Did your company pay for a catchy jingle, professional actors, camera equipment, writers, and pay extra to roll it on a primetime slot? Doesn't matter anymore, suckers. I had a TiVo, and all it took was that little familiar Bardock from my remote to 100 skipped commercials. More than that, competitions for national TV ratings were skewed. I could watch House while Bones recorded on another channel at the same time. With a TiVo I could keep a massive library of cable reruns of my choice. That thing was short-lived as actual streaming shook up the industry more and phased TiVo out. But TiVo had a solid 10 years of being the shiz. Hanging chat jokes. Allocating only 2 bytes to store the year in a computer program. P. TomTom. TomToms weren't released until 2004. If you ride a motorbike, they are still a much better option than a phone, which is likely to break. CDs. I still collect CDs for albums I really like, but rip them to flak and treat the disc as an archive. I still want the booklet case. Pisses me off when there's no booklet. That's why I bought physical. Radios in the house, not in the car. Low-rise jeans.